It's almost evening, I guess it's late afternoon. Thank you all for coming to Cal Poly Pomona, to the Kellogg University Art Gallery. My name is Michelle Carella-Fillmore. I'm the gallery director and curator of the Kellogg and Huntley Gallery. And I also manage the university's collections in case that's of any interest to anyone. The Kellogg Art Gallery is a 4,000 square foot space. It's quite a large space, so we have our big shows here. The Huntley Gallery is a 1,000 square foot space that's located on the 4th floor of the library, and it is open tonight as well. So I recommend if you have, it's open till 5 also, so if you have a little bit of time to head over there. There's a lovely show. It's a one-woman show, Gina M's show, called Through the Toy Shop and Behind the Curtain. It's mostly ceramics and assemblage, but you're more than welcome to check that out. It's just a great opportunity to see 2 shows at one night in one location, right? So take advantage of that. I apologize for my voice. I've been fighting this thing for I'm on day 11, I think. I'm hoping that that'll get improved by next week, but obviously didn't get ready for tonight. Even though I threatened my voice to get ready, but it's still not there. So I'll try to keep things relatively short tonight, because you want to hear more from them than from me, of course. First, I want to thank you all for coming. I know fighting the traffic on the SoCal freeways is quite a thing to do on a Saturday afternoon. So I thank you all for coming from all your long distances, whether it's LA, Orange County, Long Beach area. Thank you so much for coming, and welcome to Cal Poly Pomona. I always like to say a few words about how shows come about, so I'm just going to say a few words about that. First of all, I have to thank Betsy Laurel Hall for being here tonight. There she is. She's been a good friend. We went to grad school together. We've been really good friends for many, many years. We don't see each other as much as I'd like, but we're all so busy. But it's so nice to see you, and thank you for being here tonight, because you are the reason we are here tonight, believe it or not. You are one of the reasons, one of the many reasons. So Betsy was involved with Pump Long Beach back in 2017, and that was a massive kind of city-based collaborative pop-up exhibitions throughout the entire city that you helped to curate, correct? And one of the shows that were part of that pop-up was a show called Timber Timbra that was at the Art Co-op in Long Beach, and that's where I got to see the work of Hilary Norcliffe, Katie Stubblefield, and Jennifer Gunlock. The interesting thing about that night is I ran into Jennifer that night at a different location before I saw their show, and I knew Jennifer. Jennifer and I had been acquaintances and worked together, colleagues at the Jonathan Club in downtown LA for a project that I was working on, and she works with them there. And I knew her from a previous project in that, and so it was really quite an interesting mixture of how we all came together for this. And Jennifer mentioned to me that she was doing a show with 2 other colleagues, and so I went over to that site, to that part of the Pump event that was going on. So it was just really kind of happenstance how these things happen sometimes. I went to see their show, and what I saw there was something that I was really looking for. When I saw their work at first, I thought to myself, what a great opportunity it could be to bring them to Cal Poly Pomona, because they had used many of the elements that are important to our Green Initiative-based campus. Both on our campus and in our everyday activities within our campus community, and inside the classroom, the use and concept of taking care of nature, using nature, and being green is something that is very much taught in our curriculum here at Cal Poly. In the architecture department, for example, they're teaching the architects of the future to be not just dealing with green and sustainability, but also restoration, doing restorative work, so that architecture of the future can not only not leave a carbon footprint, but can also help to give back for everything that we've destroyed so far. So the idea of being able to have architecture that's created that not only doesn't have a footprint, but can also give more back to the environment so that we can have a longer existence on this planet. So that's something that I really strive for and look for, is to do things on this campus that relate to the concepts that are being taught in the classroom. And these artists are doing much of that. They are using multidisciplinary methodology along with nature through the very direct use of wood, references to trees and wooded areas and forests, geographical areas, and the concept of time. These artists together are collaboratively using nostalgia, memories of home and place. They reference the collaboration and juxtaposition of nature and spaces, both indoor and outdoor, and the interaction of nature with architecture. And the relationship and interactivity, most importantly, of humans with nature. This was all done not with a preachy or serious tone, but with the playfulness of using childhood nostalgia, music, whimsy, and fantasy. And so, it was my objective to bring these elements to the campus. And the collaboration of working with all three of these ladies, who I feel like I can call friends after a lot of what we've been through to put this show together. It's been a real joy and reward, not only for me, but for my staff, who got to closely work with each of you. And every single person who got to closely work with each of you, but also noticeably, not just my staff have noticed, but I have noticed that every single person who has come into this space to visit has walked out with a smile. So that's something really beautiful. I mean, art isn't just supposed to be beautiful, but if it makes you do something and feel something, that's beautiful. And I see that that's a lot of what we're getting from this show, a lot of the response. To do this show is not an easy task, so I want to thank these three amazing, creative, and dedicated artists for their work, their families and friends who have supported this project, and especially to Elisa Solorzano and George Suematsu for their assistance in making all of this happen. And of course, I know you already applauded them, but to my amazing staff who has really worked hard throughout their entire winter break, from finals of December all the way through. We had a 2-week break for the holidays, but the rest of the time they were working on this show and on the show across the way. So I thank my staff for their dedication. They are amazing. I love them all. We are losing one after today. Today's her last day. That's Jasmine. I don't want to embarrass her. I don't think she wants to come up here. But if you see Jasmine with her tag, please thank her for her dedication to working in the galleries. And also, if you see anybody with a tag, please thank them, because they're students, they're learning, and they are awesome. And they're our future. And I just want to thank them every day. Thank you again all for coming. I'm going to introduce these lovely ladies so that they can talk a bit about their work individually. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
So, I'm Jennifer Gunlock, and Katie Stubblefield, and Hilary Norcliffe. And so the three of us were grad students at Cal State Long Beach around 2000. So we go way back, but there was a long period of absence, and then this kind of miraculous reconnection again when I moved back to Long Beach. And so this all started with Katie's space, artist co-op that has an exhibition space in the front. We thought, oh, we'll throw some pictures on a wall this one month, and then we were invited to participate in Pump, which challenged us to actually not just throw some stuff on a wall, but create an installation, create an environment. And we sat down together like, what do we have in common? What are we going to do with this? And we thought wood, we thought growth, we thought, in terms of patterns and things like that. And so we actually had this really great opportunity to be able to occupy the space for a full 3 months to just sort of figure it out. We put one thing on the wall, somebody builds up something else, and it got to organically just sort of find itself, which is not usually what happens with a show. Like, when there's you may have a week or a couple weeks to install. So you have it figured out, you throw it up, you're done. So that was an opportunity where we got to play on site and make something happen. And that's how we learned that we really were an amazing team. We could collaborate, everybody put in their own skills. It was just this like magical combination. I was just thinking yesterday, we're like a band. We can make an album. Yeah, there's something happening here. And so when Michelle came, she saw our show and then invited us to participate. Like, yes, we have to. We have to do this.
About the opportunity.
You know, yeah, we had 3 months to build that one, and we knew, like, with almost 2 years, something really good could happen. And so we had nearly 2-year period to stretch ourselves individually, to just make something bigger, greater, to just reinvent that show and make it something else entirely. So I'm just going to quickly introduce what I do. So these works on paper are my work, as well as these little towers that have the imagery on top of them. And so my work is about kind of the human, especially Western, human relationship with nature, how there's this tendency to try to dominate, to kind of domesticize nature, to kind of control it, because it's this big, wild thing that is fearful and out of control, so there's this attempt to try to control. And so like a piece like this would be kind of like, there's this wild tree, but then it's domesticized. It's as if a civilization had built it, or it grew itself, and then they imposed themselves on top of it. There's a sort of back and forth. And it could have been there for eons, and it just kind of found itself, or was built in a day. I like to let time just sort of be something that's sort of open-ended that you kind of find for yourself. But it's very much about our imprint, our planting the flag on the landscape. But then, if, say, a civilization dies and it's empty, then their relics left behind kind of become part of the landscape. It comes back and sort of reclaims it, and so there's this weird sort of back and forth between what was human built and then what has grown there.
Okay. I'm Katie Stubblefield, and I'm going to use the video in the back to kind of describe my work. It's entitled Flow By, which is a reference to a Thomas Wolfe essay in the sense that it comes from, it's the years flow by like water. And I grew up in the woods, and my family quoted Thomas Wolfe and Ralph Waldo Emerson and Emily Dickinson, and it all synced together with the woods. And that particular piece reminds me of my fond childhood memories, and it's actually a video from where I grew up. And I grew up in the woods, and when it rained in the woods, you realized how small you were and how powerful and wonderful nature was. And big, massive thunderstorms would shake you to your core and make everything shake. And you'd be out in the woods. We had forks, and we'd hang out in the woods, and it was indulgent looking back. And century-old trees overhead, shaking and lightning. And it was just, you became really one with nature and realized your real place in nature. And it's a memory that I hold dear. And that's why I have all these pools of water. I think of them as a place to reflect, and they reflect the woods around them. So that's kind of where everything comes from. I've got this piece and some other pieces, sculptural pieces. So
it is raining on a tree.
Yeah, I love storms.
Hi, so I'm Hilary. I always have a hard time talking about my work because I do so many different things, but I think my art brain is kind of split right now between having two interests. One is in found object work. I'm a hardcore dumpster diver, and my daughter's always horrified when I screech to a halt at the side of the road because there's an awesome looking old chair right there. The other thing that I'm really interested in now is children's books. And that has been sitting on the back burner for the past couple of years while I've been focused on this show. But I'm really interested in picture books, and I've been turning up stories and illustrations for those. And what I wanted to do as I was going into it, knowing that I was going into a new body of work, investing 2 years in these sculptures, I wanted to bring something of those stories into the sculptural work. And naturally knowing that we were dealing with nature and trees and forests and things, my mind went to fairy tales, and some dark fairy tales as well, because they always have a good forest in them. And so I decided that maybe my point of view was going to become the forest or the tree in the story, and how might the story pan out if you're looking at it from the point of view of the tree or the forest. And they might be a passive person who's sort of a sentinels watching what's going on, but maybe they can smell you, maybe they can hear you, maybe they can see you somehow. And so you'll see some of that going on in the narrative, smaller sculptures that I've got. But also in the instruments that I've been creating is also to give the tree a voice and for it to sort of re-express itself with human interaction. So, yeah. I think that kind of captures what I've been talking in this show. Yay!
One other element that I forgot to mention, and that we didn't really come up either, is that some of the objects that were incorporated into the show are also elements that come from both Long Beach and Cal Poly Pomona. Finding wood and objects that specifically that were on the campus or in the Long Beach area. It's a nice marriage between Long Beach and Cal Poly today, and it's just always nice when we can use elements of the environment to create an artwork in the space. So that's another component of something that just evolved, I think, out of the process. I thought it might be nice if anybody had any questions in the audience. Are you guys up for answering a few questions? Does anybody have any questions for any specific questions for the artists or for any of us regarding the show? Yes, go ahead. Just speak loudly, or come up if you'd like to ask the question. Come on up. That way we get the video. No, come up, come all the way. No, come on up. Come to the microphone. Come to the microphone. Go ahead and ask the question.
I would just like to learn how your collaboration started, and if it's had its roots back when you were all at Long Beach, and how you all reconnected and then came together for the Timber show.
Sounds like you're ready.
So we were all in the drawing and painting program at Cal State Long Beach, drawing and painting.
Yeah, she deviated during the program.
Yeah, I can never stick with the program. But so drawing and painting, and we really parted ways for a good 10 years.
I lived in LA for a decade.
Yeah, we barely overlapped. Like we knew who each other were in school, but we didn't actually.
Instagram wasn't around.
No.
Yeah, following each other. Yeah, I don't know, like really lost touch, completely lost touch.
Yeah.
I was raising a kid, and
So what brought you together then?
So we bumped into each other. just ran into each other.
Figured it out today.
Oh, it was
Somebody else's party.
another fellow friend was visiting town. She'd left town, she came back, and I invited a bunch of people over to my house to reconnect. And that was maybe the point where we went, hey, what are you doing now?
And then bump into each other at openings, receptions in town. And then we were in a crit group together, kind of a crit group, support group. And then one of those friends, some reception at Katie's.
We had a gap in the schedule for exhibition over at the Cop. I'm like, let's do something. I mean, it just to have a space and the luxury of 3 months to build a thing. Oh my gosh, that never happened. So it's kind of extraordinary.
Yeah, and that was just sort of organically building. Like I had my really large piece on the wall there. I was knowing we had a wall, I was going to put it up. And then Hilary was making her the 2x4 phones, which are those long slab wood boards, and so she made those and had them installed exactly across the wall from my piece. So there was like this instant sort of pattern, connection, and then just things like built up like that. Like they're just making connections, thematic or literal pattern connections and things like that.
Yeah, I have the video, and actually Jennifer edited the video in the back. I want to thank you for that. So we all started collaborating regularly because of this process and this opportunity, Michelle. Thank you. It's been really an exquisite opportunity to work with our fellows.
Oh, yeah, and one of those Long Beach elements of the show are the tree stumps in front of the video.
Oh yes.
So I want to tell that
Right
story.
out mine. Yeah. So there's a lot of roots and a lot of tree stuff in this show. And a lot of them come from two of my neighbors. One, the tree was destroying my driveway, so I had to repair my driveway. And every root that came out was awesome. So we saved all those. Katie did a bunch of her bombs with them. So any roots you see in the show are from under my driveway. And the stumps and these branches, and there's another one in the house. Another neighbor's tree just collapsed in their backyard perfectly. Barely cleaned up their jacuzzis. And they're chopping that up. I'm like, I need that stump. So
We all kind of walk through on that property.
local reclaimed wood, very local.
Does that answer? It did. It was in there somewhere. It sounds to me a very organic meeting or serendipitous, but there's a lot of symbiotic connections between you. And I do have to say, when this was being done, we were talking about how to lay out the space and what you guys were going to put out. I had I didn't realize that you guys started collaborating with each other on different objects, on different installations. And it didn't really end up until we were looking at the layout. And I thought, wow, how naturally organic and symbiotic that you all just started working together. And that's just so nice to see. It happened just naturally. Because so often an artist wants to show their work and differentiate themselves in the space. But you all, and we also talked about in the layout how important I felt it was to make sure that you were all evenly represented throughout the entire space. So I think that also was not just part of the collaboration, but also just, I think has created a real successful installation overall in the space. Because each of you have your fingerprints in every part, and yet there's moments where you intertwine with each other, and then there's moments where you stand alone, but you're strong because you're surrounded by each other. And I mean, obviously your works all stand alone very strongly, each and every one of you individually, but it's just so nice to see it work together as a collaboration that you can't do with that many artists that you can combine together and do that kind of an exhibition. So I almost feel like the entire space is like an installation. It's a journey that you walk through, that you start in the home and you visit little parts of the world and eventually end up in another world. And it's like going through a little fantasy landscape that are very much like your artworks.
Yes.
And there's one thing I missed saying that I meant to say. It was in my notes and somehow I skipped over it. But Jennifer, you're also the reason why there's a show here today. And that's because I fell in love with your paintings. And I saw them online, I saw them in your website, on your Facebook page, and I was like, I've been itching to want to do something with you for a while. And when all this came about, I thought it was so kind of you to not just take the opportunity I was offering to just do a show with you, but you said, let's bring in my colleagues because I think it could be a really great show. And honestly, it was so good of you generous of you to share that with them. And I just want to thank you because it has been amazing to work with all three. And you all are wonderful artists in your own right. I just want you to know that I noticed her and it helped me reach and notice you. And I think that's, and you're all amazing. Anybody else? Anybody else have a question? question they'd like to ask about the curatorial process, about any of their artworks. Yeah, come on. You want to come on up so we can hear your question, so everybody can hear it? You don't have to shout. Come on up.
How is that made? It's enormous.
Good question. Very carefully.
Yeah, I can answer that. It's an enormous exercise in self-abuse. I had long talks with my fellow co-op artists about how to keep from scratching myself. Literally, we were talking about wearing gauntlets, and I ended up wearing long gloves most of the time I was working on this. It's 4 rebar rings, and then webbing that everything is attached to, and they're suspended along a chain that goes through the center, and then the whole thing is woven together with the fabric. It's the gallery actually installed a special rigging in the ceiling so that the ceiling would not get damaged from this process, which I'm very grateful for. I was really excited to get to show this. It looks so much larger in my studio.
That's what happens.
I guess that happens. But I'm so excited to get to show it here. Thank you so much.
I feel very lucky that we were able to do it as well, because it's really the first time that we've done something like this as well. I had the anchors in the ceiling put in specifically for you. And the funny thing is I had to ask facilities about a year and a half ago just to get it up in time, because they're so busy getting stuff done. And, not everything's always a priority, but they finally did it right when I really needed it. And I said, hey, I need this put up there, because we were concerned about the weight and the ceiling, and there's a lot of things to consider architecturally, tension, weight, all those things. And so the other thing, did you mention the scissor lift?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, we worked very carefully. We got a scissor lift and got it up there, and the scissor lift helped us with quite a few other things in the space. And then you had my staff help, and yes, it was quite the experience. And like you said, physically,
Very physical.
It
It took a week.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, come on up. Is this Richard?
I'd like to preface my question by talking about a comedian.
Okay.
Hilary's laughing. Oh, by the way, I'm Betsy Laura's Hall's husband.
Richard. This is Richard.
Yeah. No, but there's a wonderful comedian who comes from Tasmania, who is, I don't know, did you say queer, homosexual, gay, I don't know.
Okay.
But she looks very much like a man. And she has a degree in art history. And she explains how women have been portrayed in art history from a man's point of view. And it's been a male-dominated world. So how do you feel about that? And how would you like to change it? And do you think you can change it?
Can I address this real quick and then let you speak? As a curator myself personally, and being a woman, it's my objective to bring things to a campus, to this gallery, to a campus, that to be able to express, because we are all equal members of society, and need to be able to represent ourselves and our voice, because all of us can benefit from a better understanding of each other and a better communication, visual communication, verbal communication, whatever it may be, with one another. When we have more diversity, we are just a better and richer. I'm sure you've heard some of these words before. It's not new, but it is certainly, I think we have to take every opportunity that exists when we have that opportunity. So it's important. We're having some nostalgia happening over here right now, so let me hurry this up. The point is that, you know, I try really hard specifically as a woman and as a curator to make sure that, you know, I represent all, but of course including women. And one of the things about this show is I call it a 3-woman show. I call the show across the way a 1-woman show, and I specifically have placed these shows during this part of the year because they will both be on exhibit during Women's Month, the month of March. So I just want you all to understand that that's my point of view. Let's talk a little bit from the artist point of view.
I just think the culture's changing. I mean, institutions are kind of being called like to do that, but also I just noticed, like, since grad school throughout my art career, that there are a lot of, there's a saturation of women artists, period. I'm kind of thinking we're sort of like in the community, like maybe 70% women. There's just more of us who are participating, and so I'm just not trying to be too, like, obsessed about the difference, and I'm just, like, making my work and I'm showing it, and I just being focused on putting myself out there and just doing it, and I'm just personally just trusting the universe to take me where I need to go. Yeah. Because things are happening for me personally that I'm really happy about, so I'm okay. Like, we're not there, but I think we're heading in that direction. I agree.
Yeah, I'd like to say that relationships like this, where we can create collaborative relationships like this and support each other, not just in this show, but other shows that we have, and is definitely creating equality between cultures.
One thing that art history teaches us is that art is stronger when it's done in groups and organized, and people do collaborate and are friends with one another. Cubism, Impressionism, Surrealism, Dadaism would not have existed. All those men would not have been able to do what they did if they had not joined together and had conversations with each other, had similar philosophies or different philosophies, and argued with each other, and split up from each other. You wouldn't have had all of that happen had they not had the strength in numbers. So that's true. I think that women are also finding that is a way to create change, to create to have a voice, to be able to say something together. And you can be louder together, right? So does that answer your question? And I know the comedian you're talking about too, by the way. I can't remember her name, but yeah. She's fantastic, yeah. Any other questions? Did you have another question?
What's your phone number? I'm just kidding.
He's being weird. Thanks, Richard. Yes, do you have a question? Come on up. And if you guys aren't hearing well, come closer. You're so far away. Feel free to come more this way. It's fine.
Well,
we won't bite.
It's kind of strange that I'm asking Jennifer, because I've known Jennifer about longer than I've known just about anyone. You know, and come to think about it. And I definitely get a sense, you know, from looking at your work, that there's kind of a theme of, like, nature always wins in the end. You know, okay, thank you. I kind of get a sense looking at your artwork that there's kind of a theme of, like, nature always wins in the end. But I'm looking at this right here, and there's kind of like this subtlety, and I don't know, could it be like there's kind of like you have to look at the subtle cues nature's giving you, or something like that? I mean, that's how I'm interpreting it, but I mean, it's very profound looking at this. I've been staring at it all day, so yeah, if you can answer that.
Yes. I mean, I guess I'm generally hopeful that nature does win in the end. But I think actually in different pieces of my work, there are different levels of optimism and cynicism. Sometimes I think there is a bigger tension where, you know, maybe it's a little more cynical, but ultimately I really want them to be hopeful. And maybe the ones that are a little darker toned, and maybe that's just one period in history, and then things will change for the better, say 1,000 years from now.
there are moments when you each as artists, I'm sure, so there's moments where you're optimistic and there's moments when you're not. And I'm sure that comes out in your work, right? So there are those different days, those different moments, those different elements. Any other questions, or should we call it a night? Anybody else have a... Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for coming.